Hello and welcome to part 2 of the Geek Force. There's films we're looking forward to in 2017 with Adam Nightingale and Craig Barwell. Adam has chosen his top 10 with a few extras of films that he wants to see this year, and we're going to be sharing them with you.
Shearing them. We're going to be shearing them. With electrical appliances.
The next film,
Thor Ragnarok.
I'm looking forward to this.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm mainly looking forward to it because of the choice of director, which is Taika Waititi, who is is the director, the sort of he's the I think Maori, I believe, director of What We Did in the Shadows, or What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah, and a lot of the Flight of the Conchords episodes.
Well, he did write that as well.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, What We Did in the Shadows.
And The Hunt for the Wilder.
I think he is actually one of the vampires.
He is. He's like the really sweet vampire who's very, but also he's got a phenomenal.
Who ends up with the old woman?
Yeah, because he's ostensibly he's the very reasonable, house-proud vampire. You know, you kind of constantly forget
him the chores.
Yeah, but you constantly forget that they're still all killers. You know, but also he's in Hunt for the Wilder People. Well, he directed Hunt for the Wilder People.
Oh,
yeah. And he has a phenomenal cameo in that as a vicar at a funeral. He just gives the most kind of cack-handed sermon in movies in recent years. But the thing that fascinates me about Marvel at the moment, I think you hear a lot of people like rail against the state of the movie industry. Go, it's too many stupid superhero films, and that kind of annoys me a little bit because there are stupid superhero films, but you always feel that they're making this kind of blanket unilateral statement that includes Marvel. And Marvel's films are smart and they're incredibly well written, and they really cherry pick really good directors.
I was just going to say, when you look who directed the first film, was Kenneth Branagh.
And they're not obvious directors as well, because
I wouldn't have thought Kenneth Branagh directing.
But also, you've got Spider-Man: Homecoming, and the guy that directed that, his previous credit is a small, low-budget movie called Cop Car with Kevin Bacon. And with this, I mean, the guys that did, basically the kind of the Flight of the Conchord guy, and the guy that did Hunt for the Wilder People, and what isn't the obvious person to get a multi-million dollar, chunk of the.
I would like to know if it's something that why they thought that have they gone to him, or has he sort of said?
Oh, I've no idea, but they've got form. I mean, they go to people who aren't.
I was just going to say as well, when you look at the, I know it may have been the last Avengers film, it may have been Guardians of the Galaxy. I can't remember now, but they've been heavily involved. Who were doing Community.
Yeah, that's it.
I think they're doing the two Avengers parts.
Well, they did the two Captain America films, and then they're doing the Infinity War. So not obvious choices. I mean, Joss Whedon's an obvious choice retrospectively, and James Gunn is an obvious choice if you've seen, it's Slither and Super, but this isn't, and I'm intrigued to see, and also there's interesting things in the trailer. The whole idea. I like the idea that the Hulk's in it. Yeah, and there's some kind of big arena. Well, I'm a sucker for arena fights. I like, the fact that
I think that he's. I can't think of the guy who plays the Hulk. Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah,
Ruffalo.
Ruffalo.
I always call him the Ruffalo.
Well, he kind of isn't, right? He's turned into a monster. So in this instance, he's kind of Mark Ruffalo.
If ever they did make a film with Ruffalo, they ought to get Mark Ruffalo.
They should do.
I think he'd said a few years ago that when he'd read the scripts for this, and I think Avengers the next part, he says it's more or less the whole film of the Hulk, the Thor, Ragnarok, and it's a massive film for him really, with the Hulk character, which I'd love to see a film of just the Hulk, but I think that there's just something tied up with the Marvel and who it actually belongs to, the rights,
or the stink of the previous Hulk movies. Although I did like the Ang Lee one, I have to say. I liked it,
I
and, then
like
and then I watched it. I watched it again, well, bits of it recently on telly, and I think I was a little bit bored with it. But
the bit that I don't like,
yeah,
the film is good, and then they've got this little bit tagged on the end where he fights his dad, who is
Nick Nolte.
Nick Nolte, and the bit.
Well, there's like a big sort of fart cloud at that point, isn't it?
And that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's just awful, isn't it? It's like the electricity in the water, and you just think, what is going on here?
I can't remember. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it. I think I liked it. I really liked the fight with the mutant dogs. I like that.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I think up until the point where he fights his dad, I don't
Yeah.
think he needs to fight with the dad. It's just like, it reminded me of, did you see the last Spider-Man?
I did, yes.
And that just went on and on, fight after
Yes,
fight near the
yes.
end. And I think that they ought to just have one big fight and then finish it. Whereas that, same as that Spider-Man, you had one
Yeah.
fight and then you had another big fight.
Yeah.
It's just like-
That's yeah, and I think you just reminded me. I think one of the interesting things about Taika Waititi is that he can do action. You don't think you watch Home for the World People. You don't think of it as an action movie, but there's one scene in there where you have a fight between the two main protagonists and a wild boar.
Right.
And I remember watching that thinking, yeah, he can do action. That's a really good action sequence, and
So that should be an interesting.
And I've quite high
What
standards.
was
I've got a little bit of a thing about wild man-eating pig movies, and so the bar's quite high in terms of my expectations whenever I see an angry-looking pig.
And going off the subject, he's actually doing a follow-up to What We Do in the
I didn't know
Shadows.
that.
You know, the wolf, the people,
Oh.
they're doing a story about
Because
that.
what I think what he said in one of his interviews was that you've got the two cops who keep turning up afterwards. He said he wanted to do something about those two as well.
I think they are doing something about but I
brilliant.
think it's going to be the wolves. Yeah, that's right. He's going to do something about the cops as well. The joke that is absolutely hilarious when he goes there. And he's hovering in the corner, and the cops are just talking to him. Anyway, I've gone off the subject then.
Well, for the next one, a complete change.
Yeah.
Change, but this is a British movie, Jawbone.
Oh right,
And
okay.
it's a British boxing film. And the reason I want to see this is because of the main protagonist, who I think is one of the best British actors, and he's still, despite having a BAFTA nomination, he's still kind of relatively kind of underappreciated. He's a guy called Johnny Harris.
Right.
And Johnny Harris is probably best known still for being the horrific dad in the This Is England. I think This Is England 90. I don't know if you saw that.
Right, okay.
Yeah, he's a kind of abusive, kind of evil father to Vicky McClure, and he's he's terrifying in that. And he's been in other stuff subsequently. He was in Welcome to the Punch. The James McAvoy, Mark Strong movie, and again he plays very nasty henchman in that. One of my friends went to his wedding. One of my friends is a Swedish lady who was introduced to Johnny Harris's fiance because Johnny Harris's fiance was Swedish, and I remember her telling me, he says people do this, they think you'll get on with this person because they're Swedish. And he says she was really not looking forward to meet her, and then met her and they clicked, and then ended up becoming really good friends, and she met Johnny Harris and went to her husband, and then Johnny Harris's fiance and then subsequent husband became really good mates, and he said he's just the nicest man, incredibly nice, gentleman. But he's had, from what I understand, quite a tough upbringing, and he was a boxer.
Right.
And he's written this movie Jawbone, and it is essentially about a kind of, I think, a borderline punch-drunk boxer who's past his prime, being given an opportunity to fight again. But it's almost sounds like the anti-Creed or the anti-Rocky. And I like movies. I like boxing. I like boxing movies, and there aren't enough boxing movies that really scab pick. And look at the kind of you got Raging Bull, but that's about a great fighter who destroys himself. Whereas I think for me, the best boxing movie ever made that I have seen is a John Huston film called Fat City.
Right.
And it's Jeff Bridges and Stacey Keach, and it's essentially about kind of talentless boxers, or kind of guys that are talented but not quite talented enough.
The mediocre boxers.
Yeah, surviving. Basically the industry couldn't survive without these guys. These are all the guys you beat to get to where you're going. And Jawbone looks like it's about one of those guys. And and it's written by Johnny Harris, and it sounds like it's based on a phenomenal performance. It's got Michael Smiley in it again, who's in Free Fire, but it's also got Ray Winston and Ian McShane, and so for all those reasons,
it's a heavyweight cast.
Yeah, for all those, and it sounds a pessimistic movie, which is good. It's a good pessimistic movie about boxing, and it looks like it might be the thing that establishes Johnny Harris in his own right as a British actor to stack up against any great British actor of his sort of age and.
It's not going to be Clint Eastwood. What's that one called?
What, $1 Million Baby?
Baby.
Oh, it's a brilliant film there. What do you mean? Well, I hope it's like $1 Million. $1 Million Baby's a bleak film.
Yeah,
it's like really great. That's what you meant. Yeah,
really bleak.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. Let's hope so. Now, speaking of Clint Eastwood, that we can segue quite nicely into the next movie, The Beguiled, because The Beguiled is a remake of a very unusual. Have you seen the original Beguiled?
Yeah, I have seen it.
Yeah, so it's a very unusual Clint Eastwood film from the 70s, which is a real anomaly in his output in the 70s, because it's basically the story of a very callow southern deserter who's broke his leg, who kind of collapses in front of I think it's an all-girls school or all-girls academy run by this kind of spinsterly matriarch, and how they take him in, and he initially starts to kind of manipulate all the women and like just take advantage of this kind of hothouse of repressed sexual frustration, and then it all comes back on him, and he's kind of in a sense without realising grabbed a tiger by the tail. And so the remake is by Sofia Coppola.
Oh right. Okay.
And the cast is phenomenal, and it's Nicole Kidman as the matriarch, it's Colin Farrell substituting for Clint Eastwood. And then
that's a weird casting.
And then you've got Kirsten Dunst and Elle Fanning as two of the women in the school. So I like Southern Gothic dramas. And again, Southern Gothic, the dividing line between like Southern Gothic and horror is very thin, and this looks to be sort of it's Kirsten Dunst with Sofia Coppola, for the third time, because I thought what she did. I love the Virgin Suicides. I thought Marie Antoinette was great. I think they work really well together, and I think she's phenomenal with predominantly female casts.
She's a good writer and director, isn't she?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so, speaking of all female casts,
the
next movie, The Little Hours, is a comedy.
Right. Okay.
And it's a comedy set in a medieval nunnery.
Oh right.
And I don't know much about it other than it's about Dave Franco, who is I think a servant who runs away from his master, who's Nick Offerman, who if you watch Parks and Recreations is Ron Swanson.
Right. Okay.
Who is I'm a late convert to Parks and Recreations. Ron Swanson he should be a hero to men everywhere. And he runs away from and takes refuge in this nunnery filled with like kind of neurotic and insane nuns, one of whom is played by Alison Brie from Community, and the wonderful Aubrey Plaza, who I rhapsodised about, who I'm a lot more up to speed on Aubrey Plaza now. That doesn't sound.
So this should be an interesting one because I like Alison Brie anyway.
Yeah, and Aubrey Plaza apparently plays an exceedingly angry nun.
Right.
Yeah, and so finally, the last film is The Assignment.
Right, I've not heard anything about this at all.
Which has gone by many titles. It's a film that's been sort of kept back. Controversy might sort of give it a cinema release, but it's.
How long is it meant to be coming out
for? I think it comes out soon. I think it comes out in March. Well, it comes out in March, more or less now in America, and I'm not sure when it's released in England. And it was originally, its original title was Tomboy: A Revenger's Story,
right? And
then Reassignment, and now it's The Assignment, and it's a film in very, very bad taste about a hitman who's taken revenge upon by Sigourney Weaver, who's a surgeon who essentially reassigns the hitman's gender, so it turns the hitman into a hit woman, and then the hit woman, who's played were played before and after by Michelle Rodriguez with prosthetics and the absence of prosthetics. Who plays a sort of a transgender against her will hit woman who goes out after Sigourney Weaver. And what makes me want to watch this film, other than the central, is the fact that it's directed by one. It might destroy his career, but it's directed by one of my favourite living directors, Walter Hill.
Oh God!
Yeah, Walter
right.
Hill of The Warriors fame, of Southern Comfort fame, of 48 Hours, and directed and was kind of associate, consultant producer and director of the first episode of my favourite ever TV series, which is Deadwood. And anything Walter Hill does, I will watch.
Yeah.
And he's kind of in his 70s now, and he's still making movies.
It sounds a weird film.
Yeah, and he's absolutely enraged. The sort of it's enraged the transgender community, as you can imagine.
I wonder
and has been fiercely defended by Michelle Rodriguez and Walter Hill, and it's basically this kind of manure storm of controversy. But I want to see it. It's a Walter Hill
to
film.
see.
Well, I want to see it because it's a Walter Hill film. That's my main reason for wanting to see it. And Michelle Rodriguez isn't bad either. She's a survivor. She hangs in there. And a friend of mine once said, Kate Ludlow, once said that Michelle Rodriguez scrubs down really well. And she was talking about like, I think as you were talking about in the Fast and the Furious movies, when she appears in them, she doesn't look quite right when they sort of dress her up. But she's absolutely stunning when they stick some overalls on her and a little bit of monkey grease or stuff like that. So yeah.
She probably will be dressed down in this one.
Yes, she will be. And she's got quite a weird voice. She's got a bit of she's got a Michelle Rodriguez version of a man's voice as she goes out to kind of kill people. And so the assignment. I'm fully expecting that to be my film of the year by the end of the year.
And that is everything for the moment.
That is everything for the moment.
And if Adam thinks of any more that you should be seeing, we'll come back to him and we'll come back to you.
Bye.
Should we talk about those other two?
What other two? Oh yeah. The two that didn't make the cut. Because I kept changing my mind every day. No, they're big movies. They don't need any help from me. But Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
Because believe it or not, I wasn't a massive fan of Guardians of the Galaxy 1. I really enjoyed it, but I didn't rhapsodise about it. And I'll tell you why. Because I always felt that it was basically Serenity, but not as good. I always feel that Serenity did exactly what Guardians of the Galaxy did, with less commercial success, although it did all right, and less acclaim, better. And I always feel like Guardians of the Galaxy, the ending just felt a little bit kind of flatulent. It kind of just went on a bit, and it wasn't really satisfying in the way that the ending.
It wasn't a big fight. It wasn't a big fight at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy. The only.
But I am looking forward to two.
The only thing I would say is that I didn't see it at the cinema, and then I watched it on DVD. And don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed it, but people had really hyped it up, saying this is the best one.
Yeah, I think that's it. And
I thought, well,
I found Serenity. I think Serenity to me is like the perfect science fiction action movie. In recent years, and that's the kind of the bar for me, and I just felt like it's paced incredibly well, and the transition from sort of almost kind of light comedy to a very, very, very grueling ending is brilliant. But I'm looking forward to two. I'm really looking forward to two, and I think mainly it's because of Dave Bautista's contributions in the trailer. I think he just looks phenomenal. It looks like they've kind of given him a lot more space. And then the other film that I missed out on, my list, or just
Another
took out
space one.
Another space is Alien Covenant,
Yeah.
and I always feel like how many times I'm going to allow my hand to be bitten by expectations attached to a Ridley Scott movie, because I was like this with Prometheus, and Prometheus I liked, but my feelings about Prometheus is like I just wish they kind of hadn't bothered. However good it is, I always think it's
I've
not.
got to admit, Prometheus, when we went to see it, me and my mate Mark, I was on about it. It must have been a good couple of weeks after saying, what do you think about this bit? And it was bits within it that I can't remember off the top of my head now, because it must be about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But I kept saying, there's just weird bits in it that didn't lead anywhere.
Well, I mean, essentially because they're not answering anything. They're setting up more questions than they answer. But my feeling is anything that you see in Prometheus better than what you imagine when you first see the fossilized alien? So the moment you find out that the alien is what it is in Prometheus, it kind of takes away a little bit of the power of just imagining, just having this kind of fossilized creature that you might, that just seems, it's just there, and they don't know what it is, and and we don't know, and it just takes something of the mystery and ominousness away from Alien. And I think there's this need in movies, this kind of need in movies to kind of fill in every blank and fill in every bit of lore. And
well, Star Wars.
Yeah, and thanks for listening to our top 10 films that we are looking forward to, but will inevitably end in disappointment. And we'll just join us at the end of the year when you can see like hopes shattered and dreams crushed, as the films that we've enjoyed in trailers have turned round and bit us like poisonous adders.
Bye.